The state of the Patriots is fill in the blank.
Worrisome. It's worrisome. 0-2 was not beyond the pale. And the performance against the Eagles was encouraging enough to have me handing out the 8th moral victory in the past 3 seasons. But you can only, and I counted them, there have been 8.
Okay.
But you can only have a moral victory, I finally came to conclude, if you do something with the lesson that you were taught. They fall behind 16-0 against the Eagles and then fall behind 17-3 against the Dolphins. Rich, we hear people talk about a Bill Belichick coach team and the tenets that it adheres to and the way it plays football and the situational smarts. That's so far gone from what we're seeing. And I thought it would be cured post Patricia and Judge, and it's continuing on with the lack of attention to detail and quality control. So it's concerning to me.
So to what do you attribute this, Tom?
There's a talent gap to begin with. And the talent gap, I think, forces them to make mistakes. You know, you look at the first game, you can't control Mac Jones throwing high to Kendrick Bourne, which turns into a pick. You can't tell Ezekiel Elliott, after however many years he's been in the league, hey, make sure you don't fumble after you catch the screen. Both of those things happen. Dietrich Wise, who's a captain, lined up offsides. He extended a drive in the first game against Philly. They turned that into a field goal. Kyle Duggar wiped out a sack with a defensive hold. Philly turned that into a touchdown. And that was the end of a 20-yard drive. I mean, they played as well as they could. That's why I come out of that game and I'm like, hey, you know what? 48 minutes, they actually took it to the Eagles. And then they came out against the Miami Dolphins and they had a fumble on one of their first drives. And then they couldn't match up and they got just shredded on 2nd and 19. They get a 20-yard gain to Jalen Waddle. There's just a talent gap that's exacerbated by the physical and mental mistakes they're making.
So I guess the positives would be what? Like I know you said that you expected most post Patricia and Judge cleaning up some of the mistakes that you rarely see on a team that's situationally brilliant year in and year out, certainly compared to the competition. But just eye test. I mean, Mac Jones looks far more confident
100%.
And gets rid of the football in a far more efficient way than we saw at maybe any point last year over these first 2 games. Tom, right?
100% last year. And in some ways reminiscent of 2021 and probably better than 2021. I think that he's more confident, but their margin for error is so low that when he makes a mind-numbing mistake, like the pick down the sideline to Devontae Parker, who was boxed out into the cheerleaders by Xavier Howard, you're not coming back from it. You know, people here were saying, wow, we were really close the other night. Cole Strange, I mean, it was that close to getting that first. Close to what? They were at the 30-yard line. If they got that first down, they were still down by a touchdown. Close is, the Titans against the Rams in 1999 in the Super Bowl. Close isn't your guard tackled at the 30 with a minute and a half left and no timeouts. Sorry.
I hear you, Tom, and that's
loaded for bear out here.
That's one of the many reasons why I love having you on. Is you shoot straight, and so maybe you can help interpret this. I know Mac Jones interpreted it on his own on WEEI radio locally, but Mac certainly post game had some eyebrows raised with this comment. Let's play it for the audience here.
Definitely got to play better and learn from it, and be here early and leave late and do it together. I think that's the biggest thing. It's if a couple guys are doing it, it's not good enough clearly. So we got to put more into it, and we'll get more out of it.
And I know he said locally that he wasn't throwing any of his teammates in an unnamed fashion under a bus, but I don't know how else you would take that to mean other than the fact that not everyone is doing what he advocates.
Trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube a little bit, but when you say it's the biggest thing, everyone has to do it together. It's not the biggest thing the next day, and does not infer that everyone is not doing it together. And I think that that's another aspect of the Patriots that maybe falls away a little bit as the traditions of what they were about and who they had at quarterback fall away. I mean, as Bill Belichick used to say, when your best player is your hardest worker, it makes a difference. And everyone understood that Tom Brady was the best player. I don't know if teammates think Mac is the best player. They like him. They definitely like him. They definitely think that there's upside there, and they do think he works hard. But I don't think that, random wide receiver X is looking at Mac and going, holy crap, he's pissed. I have to get in there, make sure I stay late. I just don't think it exists the same way it would have if Tom Brady looked at Chad Ochocinco and said, where are you going? So it's different. It's the nature of things. And we were spoiled that the circle of NFL life skipped 2 or 3 times over this area, but it's come around now.
Well, hey man, I knew again. Let's just talk about my allegiances. I knew again when Mariano Rivera retired that the Yankees wouldn't have a closer like that again, and then we had it great, and that's the way it works for pretty much every franchise in any sport when an all-time great leaves. I guess unless you're the Packers or something like that. But you put it all together, and it sounds like you don't believe, or the general sense is that there's enough in the pipeline there to actually have a playoff season, or
no,
what?
I think
what
they
do you
can.
say?
I think that they can. I think that they could have won either of those games had they not committed mistakes that they did. But Rich, in the last 5 games that they played, going back to last year, they fell behind the Cincinnati Bengals 22-0. They gave an opening game kickoff up to the Buffalo Bills. They fell behind Philly 16-0. They fell behind Miami 17-3. All 4 of those are good teams. And they didn't come out prepared and ready to play, dug themselves a hole, and then had to valiantly try to claw back. And in each of those games, they did valiantly try to claw back. All of those were representative, not bad. So I think that they can beat teams like the Jets and the Commanders and the Colts. I think that they could probably take care of business against the Chargers. But I look at other teams and say they're not competitive against them. In their last 9 games, Rich, they're 2-7. The 2 teams that they beat were the Miami Dolphins with Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson, and the Arizona Cardinals with Colt McCoy. That's a 9-game stretch that if they had those quarterbacks, their starters, could the Patriots have been 0-9 over their last 9? I mean, we're looking at the Patriots and the logo and the head coach and saying, look out. And the results argue differently.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.